Hello, here we are for Chapter 11 of Building Vocabulary Skills. If you want to follow along in your book, you can open up to page 68. All right, so here's our words here. If you want to take a second and pause this and try to figure out which ones are nouns and adjectives, you can go ahead and do that. That's always good practice. But I'm going to go ahead and zip through these words for us. So our first one here is defer. The children showed great respect for their grandmother and deferred to her every wish. When it comes to fixing cars, I defer to my brother's judgment. He knows much more about auto mechanics than I do. So defer means to give in. So you'll notice that defer is followed by the preposition to in both of these ones. And defer, when we say give in, what we mean is that instead of doing what I want or what I think, I do what someone else wants. So on page 69, defer is number 10. It says give in to someone else's wishes or judgments, yield out of respect. So the important thing here, or one of the important things about that definition, is that you're doing something out of respect or because someone knows something more. So, for example, if if we were talking about a subject about some country that I was not familiar with, but you were from that country, I would defer to you when we were talking about it because you know more about it than I do. Most of the time, we defer to our teachers because ideally, it's supposed to be that the teachers know more about the subject than us. So even if we think we're right, we'll accept whatever the teacher is saying. We will give in to their judgment. All right, endeavor. This is a verb. Becky endeavored to raise money for Christmas presents by selling candy and cookies door to door. Your company would be wise to hire Jesse. He will endeavor to do his best at whatever jobs you give him. And endeavor means to try. And you'll notice that in both of these cases, endeavor is followed by to, but it is also followed by a verb. So in the first one, endeavored to raise, and in the second one, endeavored to do. So it's followed by the infinitive form of the verb. And endeavor is number 6 on page 69. And it says to make a serious effort, to attempt. So what endeavor means is to try to do something. To try to do something. And normally we use endeavor for something to try to do something that is maybe not super easy to do, and something that maybe you won't be successful at doing. I mean, whenever you try at something, you don't know for sure you're succeeding. So the first one, she's endeavoring to raise money. Um, Getting this money may not be easy. In the second one, he's going to endeavor to do his best at whatever jobs you give him. Doing your best is not always easy. So endeavor is to try to do something that's difficult, to do your level best. All right, equate. So this is a verb. It would be a mistake to equate the two teams just because they both have perfect records. One team has played much stronger opponents. Don't equate all homework assignments with busy work. Homework can increase one's understanding of a subject. So what equate means is to consider things equal. And it is number 5 on page 69. To consider to be equal, the same, or similar. So equate, if you look at that, has what the beginning of equal. And that's what equate means. Equate means to say that this thing is like this thing. Okay, but equate in both of these sentences is being used in a sort of a negative way, saying that you shouldn't equate the two teams, right? The two teams both are undefeated. They haven't lost any records. But you shouldn't say that they're both equally good. And the second one, you shouldn't equate all homework assignments with busy work, meaning that you shouldn't think that all homework is just to keep you busy. Maybe some of it is, but not all of it. Um, but equate means to, say that two things are the same. So our next one is impose. Impose is a verb. Our neighbor pounded on our door as we were sitting down to eat. I'm sorry to impose on you during dinner, he said, but I need to borrow a fire extinguisher. Um, Roy is always asking favors, yet people never seem to notice how much he imposes on them. And what impose means is to selfishly bother. Now, if you look in both of these cases, you'll notice that impose is followed by on, and this is generally true. On page 69, it's number 2, and it's to take unfair advantage of. So to impose on someone means that you are asking them to do something for your benefit. You're interrupting them. Like in the first one, he's interrupting dinner so that he can get a fire extinguisher. He's interrupting for his own benefit. In the second one, Roy is always asking for favors, meaning he's asking for people to do things for him, for his benefit. So when you impose on someone, it means that you're asking them to do something for you that benefits you but doesn't benefit them. Indignant. My mother becomes indignant when she sees parents treat their children with disrespect. When she was falsely accused of stealing a classmate's gold chain, the student became very indignant. In this case, indignant means angry. And it's on page 69 is number 7. Angry because of some insult or injustice. So indignant means you wouldn't just say, you might say I'm angry at my brother, but you're not going to say I'm indignant at my brother unless you would be indignant because your brother maybe accused you of doing something wrong or did something very unfair. So indignant means that you're angry, but you're angry because things are not fair or not right. So in the first one, the mother becomes indignant when she sees parents treating their kids badly. She's upset because it's not fair that the parents are treating their children with disrespect. In the second one, the student is indignant because someone is saying she stole something without any proof, and if you didn't steal anything, you can become very indignant. One of the things I've had to learn as a teacher is that I have to be very careful about accusing a student of cheating, especially if I don't have any proof, because students become indignant. They become very angry because they feel that they're being accused unfairly. Inevitable. So this one is an adjective. I am such a chocoholic that if you put a brownie in front of me, it is inevitable that I will eat it. We try so hard to look and stay young, pardon me, but aging is inevitable. So inevitable means unavoidable. It means it can't be stopped. It's number 4 on page 69. Sure to happen, unavoidable. So in the first example is maybe not so great, but the second one, getting old is inevitable. Nobody can stop. We have a saying in English, no one can stop father time, or father time always wins. We're all going to get older. Our bodies are all going to fall apart, and we're not going to look like we did when we were, in our 20s. No matter what we do. There's lots of things that are inevitable. There's a saying in English that says there's two things in life that are inevitable: death and taxes. Right? Those are two things that you can't avoid. that are going to happen to you. Malicious. This is an adjective. Bullies are malicious. They take pleasure in hurting others. Rachel, pardon me, Rachel loves malicious gossip. The more spiteful it is, the more she likes it, and the more likely she is to repeat it. What malicious means is mean. Um, on page 69, it's number 9, showing great ill will, mean, deliberately harmful. And that last thing is what I would emphasize. Malicious, for those of you guys who are Spanish speakers, if you look at the beginning of that, it has the word mal, which means bad in Spanish. But malicious, when we say that something is malicious, it's mean with the intention of hurting. So if you're being malicious, it means you're being mean to someone because you want to hurt them. So in the first example, it talks about bullies, and bullies are people who pick on other people, normally people who are weaker than them. But they do it because they enjoy hurting those people. They take pleasure in hurting those people. Malicious gossip is the backbiting or talking behind people's back, but it's malicious, meaning that the reason why you're saying it is to actually hurt the person who it's about. Okay, so malicious is very, very negative, very negative. Option. When my overweight uncle was told stop eating so much or you'll have a heart attack within 5 years, he didn't like either option. Noah thinks a multiple choice test allows him to choose more than one option. And an option means a choice. And my guess is that a lot of you guys already know this word. On page 69, it's in a choice or an alternative. Passive. This is an adjective. Taylor is very passive. He waits for things to happen instead of making them happen. Students learn more when they take part in class discussions instead of simply being passive listeners. Passive means inactive. It's number 3 on page 69. Being acted upon without acting in return. Unresisting. So passive it means more than inactive. It means that someone is doing something to you, but you aren't participating in it. So in the first example, Taylor is very passive. What this means is that his life is happening, things are going on in his life, but he doesn't take any initiative. He doesn't start things. He doesn't set goals. He doesn't try for certain things. He just lets whatever happens to him happen instead of making them happen. In the second one, students a passive student or a passive listener means that they're part of the class is going on. If you're just sitting there and listening and not getting involved and asking questions, you're just letting things happen to you without getting involved in something. Sometimes maybe it is good to be passive, and sometimes maybe it's bad to be passive. But it really means that there's some situation, and instead of being involved in the situation, you just sit there and let it happen. You might think about, are you a passive learner or are you an active learner? Active would be the opposite of that. All right, our last word here, patron. The punk rock group was a good patron of the beauty shop. The punk rock star was a good patron of the beauty shop. She came in at least once a week to change her hair color. Many of the diner's patrons were stagehands who worked at the theater across the street. And a patron means a customer. A patron means a person who goes somewhere. Um, uh, and normally when we talk about a patron, it means that someone. If you look on page 69, it says number 8. It says a customer, especially a steady one. What we mean by a steady one is a regular customer. someone who goes there again and again and again. I was talking to my sister and my brother-in-law, and their daughters, they're twins, and they just started college, and they were talking to them about where they eat because they have a meal plan there. But they say that they don't normally go to the college cafeteria. Instead, they're regular patrons of Subway. In fact, the last time they walked in there, the people working in there just said, "Do you want the regular?" Meaning that they came there so much that the people working there knew what they wanted to order. So that's a patron. All right, so let's quickly go over the sentence check on page 70. So when rats are crowded together, it's blank. They will fight with each other. And number two, I have only two blank at work. I can do what my boss asks, or I can be fired. So the first one is inevitable. If you have a bunch of rats that are in a very close space, they're going to start fighting. You can't avoid it. And in the second one, only two choices at work. You can do what the boss wants or be fired. Those are your choices. In our society, too often, blank happiness with money. Mort isn't a blank football fan. He actively participates by jumping out of his seat and yelling until he's hoarse. I was the store's most loyal blank until new management raised the prices, and then I started shopping elsewhere. So in the first one, we too often equate happiness with money, meaning saying that if you have money, you have happiness. Okay, saying that they're the same. In the second one, he's not a passive football fan. He's an active football fan. He participates. In number five, he was the writer was the most loyal patron, the most loyal customer. Heidi is so blank that she makes up lies to ruin other people's reputations. Um, I I don't want to blank on you, Scott said, but if you're going to the post office, would you get me some stamps? So the first one's malicious. She likes to lie to ruin other people's reputations. She does things that are going to hurt other people. In the second one, Scott is asking for a favor. He's asking someone else to do something for him that benefits him. When his wife accused him of never helping around the house, Mac was blank. Hadn't he just built a deck off the kitchen? The instructor doesn't expect us to blank to his opinions just because he's the teacher. He wants us to think for ourselves. Many climbers have blanked to reach the top of Mount Everest, who have blanked to reach the top of Mount Everest have died on the way. So in this one, he was indignant. He was upset because the wife was accusing him of something when it wasn't true. He did help. In the second one, the instructor doesn't expect us to just accept his opinions, right? He wants people to think for themselves and come up with their own opinions. And in the last one, these climbers had to try to climb Mount Everest. And if you think of Mount Everest, which is the tallest mountain in the world, that is a difficult thing to do. All right. So what you want to do is complete the online activities, complete the questions, review those. We'll go over them in class before the quiz. All right. Take care. See you soon. Bye.